The world changes fast, but human nature rarely does. If you ever wonder why the same mistakes, reactions, and patterns repeat over generations, then this book is your answer. Welcome to today's breakdown of Same as Ever by Morgan Housel, Timeless Lessons on What Never Changes. A powerful reminder that while technology, trends, and markets evolve, human behavior remains surprisingly predictable. As the thumbnail says, the world changes. People don't. And understanding what stays the same can give you a huge edge in life, investing, and decision-making. This summary is brought to you by Detailed Book Summaries, where we extract the most valuable insights from life-changing books to help you grow smarter, faster. If you're ready to gain clarity in a chaotic world, like this video, leave a comment with your favorite insight, and subscribe for more wisdom that stands the test of time. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Change, What Never Really Changes. Let's cut through the noise. Every year, someone screams, the world is changing faster than ever. And while it's true, yes, we got tech revolutions, shifting economies, AI doing cartwheels, there's a brutal truth we forget. Human nature hasn't changed. Not in decades. Not in centuries. That's what Morgan Housel drills into our skulls in Same as Ever. He opens with this hammer. If you want to thrive, not just survive in this wild, chaotic world, stop obsessing over what's changing. Obsess over what's not. Because while the tools evolve, the people using them, same fears, same greed, same pride, same blind spots. Predict those, and you can predict outcomes. Not perfectly, but with clarity. Think about it. Markets rise and crash because people get euphoric, then terrified. That's not new. It's not AI. It's not crypto. It's the same emotional pendulum that swung in the 1929 crash, the dot-com bubble, the 2008 collapse. Different characters, same script. Housel gives example after example, money, business, politics, relationships, showing how the root drivers rarely change. We still crave safety. We still chase status. We still overestimate our control. We still panic when the future feels uncertain. These aren't trends, they're constants. If you bet against human emotion, you're going to lose. Every time. And here's where it gets even more interesting. We're not just blind to what never changes. We're addicted to the idea that everything must change, especially in business and self-development. New frameworks, new hacks, new gurus. But the truth is, the most valuable wisdom is old, boring, simple, and it works. Morgan warns us, don't mistake newness for truth. Not every shiny tool makes your life better. And not every shift is worth reacting to. Instead, ask, what patterns have stood the test of time? What behaviors have consistently led to success or disaster? Those are your anchors, your playbook, your edge. He also reminds us, everyone thinks they're living in unique times. But look closely. Our ancestors faced war, inflation, corruption, climate events, misinformation. Sound familiar? Sure, the packaging changes. But the human response to risk and opportunity hasn't budged. That's why people who study history, not just headlines, win. They see through the hysteria. They don't get seduced by the hype. They stay calm when others lose their minds. They know how the game ends because the game hasn't changed. By the end of this chapter, you're not just reading a book. You're reprogramming how you think. You stop asking, what's new? And start asking, what always works? That shift changes everything. It gives you calm in chaos. It gives you power when others are panicking. So here's the challenge from Chapter 1. Start noticing the patterns. In the market, in your relationships, in your own habits. Find the stuff that keeps repeating and get good at predicting it. That's how you stop chasing trends and start building timeless success. Chapter 2. Calm is a superpower. Why resilience wins overreaction. Panic is loud. It moves fast. It spreads like wildfire. But calm? Calm is strategic. Calm is powerful. Calm is what separates the people who get crushed in the chaos from those who quietly win. Morgan Housel opens Chapter 2 with a powerful reminder. In uncertain times, those who stay calm see clearly. And clarity is leverage. When the world tilts, financial crashes, pandemics, war, political insanity. The instinct is to react. Do something. Buy. Sell. Run. Hide. Post. Rage. But the people who consistently build wealth, make wise decisions, and live well, they pause. They observe. They wait. Then they act deliberately. Housel points to a truth that's easy to forget. In the heat of the moment, your emotions lie to you. Fear exaggerates. Greed distorts. Ego whispers sweet, reckless things. And when you listen, you make dumb choices. You sell at the bottom. You chase trends at the top. You abandon plans the moment they get uncomfortable. But calm? Calm gives you a buffer. It lets you play the long game. It says, this feels scary, but I've seen this before. People always overreact. The storm will pass. And it always does. The ones who survive and thrive are rarely the flashiest. They're the ones with enough emotional control to do what doesn't feel urgent. Take investing. The market crashes. The news is doom and gloom. Most people run. But the calm investor? They know markets crash all the time. They know the cycle. They don't flinch. They might even buy more while everyone else is fleeing. And when the rebound comes, they look like geniuses, not because they were lucky, but because they were patient. But it's not just about money. This applies to relationships, careers, parenting, leadership. The boss who stays calm under pressure? Respected. The partner who doesn't lash out in arguments? Trusted. The entrepreneur who doesn't pivot with every trend? Built to last. Morgan stresses that calm is not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to feel everything and still make good decisions. It's knowing how to pause before reacting, to zoom out before zooming in, to prioritize the long-term game over the short-term noise. He also warns us, calm isn't natural. It's a discipline. You have to train for it. Read history so you recognize patterns. Build a margin of safety so you don't panic when things wobble. Surround yourself with level-headed thinkers. Limit your exposure to outrage media. Get sleep, breathe, and maybe most important, know your own mind. What triggers you? What stories do you tell yourself under stress? What's your typical reaction when uncertainty hits? If you can spot those patterns, you can rewrite them. You can upgrade your emotional software. Because here's the brutal truth. Life will test you. Your plans will get wrecked. Your assumptions will get shattered. And in those moments, the calm ones win. Not because they're smarter, but because they've built the muscle of not freaking out. So here's the takeaway from Chapter 2. Calm isn't a luxury. It's a tactical advantage. Learn to stay still when others sprint. Learn to think when others panic. Learn to move with intention, not impulse. That's not just a skill, it's a superpower. Chapter 3. The seduction of pessimism. Why bad news sells and good thinking wins. There's a reason why pessimism feels smarter. When someone says, the market's going to crash, or this tech boom is a bubble, or the system is broken, people lean in. It sounds intelligent, serious, grounded. But when someone says, things are going to work out, or this is an opportunity, it sounds naive, maybe even delusional. Why is that? Morgan Housel unpacks the psychological bias with clarity. Pessimism sounds like someone trying to protect you. Optimism? It sounds like someone trying to sell you something. But here's the paradox. History sides with the optimists. Progress may be messy, but it happens over and over again. Think about it. Every generation has predicted collapse, war, recession, catastrophe. And yes, those things happen. But what gets lost in the noise is the resilience behind it all. Markets crash and recover. Societies stumble and rebuild. People adapt. Life goes on and gets better over time. But that progress happens gradually, quietly, without the same headlines. Bad news screams. Good news whispers. This is where Morgan makes a sharp point. Pessimism is often performance. It gives people an illusion of control. If you say something will go wrong, and it does, you look prophetic. If it doesn't, you claim it just hasn't happened yet. It's a win-win trap for credibility. Meanwhile, the optimist always has to prove themselves. But let's be clear, being optimistic doesn't mean ignoring risk or pretending everything is fine. It means acknowledging problems while still believing solutions are possible. It's a belief that with time, effort, and learning, we can figure things out. That mindset doesn't just predict the future, it builds it. Housel challenges us to notice how often pessimism is just fear wearing a suit, a warning dressed up as wisdom. But fear-based thinking leads to paralysis. It makes you hoard instead of invest, hide instead of create, shrink instead of expand. And that costs you in business, in wealth, in life. If you want to make smart decisions, you need to zoom out. Look at long-term data. Study how innovation, human behavior, and market cycles have evolved. You'll find that downturns are temporary, but uptrends are persistent. The world gets better, even if it gets noisy. Morgan gives examples from finance, tech, history. He shows that the people who bet on humanity, even when it looked dark, often ended up ahead, not because they ignored risk, but because they believed in recovery, in growth, in possibility. So next time someone starts sounding smart with doom and gloom forecasts, pause. Ask, is this helping me act wisely or just making me feel scared? And more importantly, what's the full picture they're not showing me? Because the truth is, opportunity rarely announces itself with a megaphone. It shows up in quiet corners, in moments when everyone else is panicking, in the space between the noise. That's the essence of Chapter 3. Pessimism may get attention, but long-term, rational optimism wins. Every single time. Chapter 4. Calm is contagious, and so is panic. In a room full of chaos, the calmest person holds the most power. That's not just a leadership cliche. It's an unchanging truth of human behavior. Morgan Housel explores this in Chapter 4 by diving into a powerful observation. Emotions are contagious, especially in groups, especially under pressure. When things go sideways, markets crash, businesses falter, relationships hit stress points, most people react. They mirror the fear around them. They yell if others yell, sell if others sell, worry if others worry. It's instinctive, but the rare few who pause, think clearly and act intentionally, they set the tone for everyone else. Calm isn't the absence of concern, it's the control of it. Housel references stories from war, financial crises, and company failures to make his point. In Navy SEAL training, they say, calm is contagious. Why? Because in high-stakes environments, panic spreads like wildfire, but so does confidence. And when someone shows control under pressure, it gives others permission to do the same. It becomes a stabilizing force. Think of Warren Buffett. When markets tank, he doesn't flinch, he shops. While others hit the panic button, he sees opportunity in discounted prices. His behavior calms investors because he's modeling restraint and reason, and people trust that. Same principle applies in startups, families, leadership, even friendships. When a leader freaks out, the whole team tightens up. When a parent loses their temper, the kids' fear doubles. When a founder makes impulsive moves during a crisis, employees brace for chaos. But if that same leader steps back, breathes, and speaks with clarity, even if the news is bad, it shifts the energy. It helps people process, plan, and persevere. Morgan's point isn't just philosophical, it's practical. In business, money follows conviction. In life, people follow stability. If you can be the calm one in the room, you earn trust fast. You become a magnet for confidence. Not because you know everything, but because you can hold your head while figuring things out. But this skill isn't easy. It takes training, experience, and most of all, awareness. You have to notice when fear is creeping in. You have to catch yourself before reacting impulsively. You have to create a small gap between what happens and how you respond. That gap is where wisdom lives. Housel argues that in any uncertain environment, your greatest edge isn't IQ, talent, or strategy. It's emotional control. It's knowing that panic distorts perception. That calm restores perspective. And that if you can hold the line while others flail, you'll often end up with better decisions, better outcomes, and better relationships. So the next time pressure hits, ask yourself, what energy am I putting out? Because whatever it is, it's contagious. You get to decide whether you spread fear or calm. Chapter 5. Time heals all wounds, but time can also be the greatest teacher. Time has an interesting role in life. It's a constant. It's something we can't control, and yet it has the power to heal, teach, and shape outcomes in ways we don't often anticipate. In Chapter 5, Morgan Housel reflects on the paradox of time, how it can both be an enemy and a teacher, depending on how we interact with it. The saying, "time heals all wounds," is often repeated when we experience pain, disappointment, or loss. It suggests that as time passes, emotional scars fade, situations resolve, and perspective shifts. But in Morgan's view, time is more than just a passive healer. It's an active force that teaches us, if we allow it. Time is the ultimate educator. It is a great revealer of truth and the greatest influencer of human behavior. The longer you live, the more you learn about what truly matters, what works, and what doesn't. It's through time's passage that we start to understand the long-term consequences of our actions, our decisions, and even our beliefs. Take investing, for example. The passage of time in the market is often underestimated. Investors who succeed long-term are not necessarily the ones with the best insights or most brilliant strategies. Rather, they are the ones who stay the course, who have the patience to see their investments grow over decades. In essence, time compounds wealth. But it's not just about money. Time helps us grow in our personal lives. 2. Relationships change, people evolve, and we learn more about what truly makes us happy and fulfilled. The things we think are important in our 20s, money, status, recognition, might seem trivial in our 40s. And the people we were so worried about impressing when we were younger are likely less significant as time passes. What mattered then doesn't always matter now. Housel argues that we often underestimate the value of patience. In a world that rewards instant gratification, we often forget that the most important things in life, success, love, wisdom, require time. They need a slow burn. Instant success can be exhilarating, but it rarely lasts. True success, Housel says, comes from the long-term consistency of effort, patience, and humility to learn and grow as time progresses. The beauty of time is that it shows us the way. Housel uses examples from history, such as how certain businesses survived and flourished despite periods of difficulty or seemingly insurmountable challenges. The common thread? These businesses stayed committed to their vision over time, adapting and improving along the way. And while they may have faced hard moments, they were willing to see the bigger picture. A crucial element in Housel's view is the lesson that comes with time. What seems like failure in the short term may not be as bad as we think. Time provides perspective, and what appears to be a setback today often reveals itself as a valuable lesson tomorrow. For example, many successful entrepreneurs will tell you that their biggest failures were actually the most pivotal turning points in their careers. In relationships, time gives us the ability to see who is really important to us, who we are, and how we evolve. It strips away superficial desires and exposes deep, enduring values that shape our happiness and fulfillment. The people who are meant to stay in our lives will, over time, demonstrate their worth through consistency, trust, and care. Of course, time can be a cruel teacher. It can teach us that we missed out on opportunities, that we spent too long on the wrong things, or that we've ignored important life lessons. But even in these moments, there's an opportunity for growth. As we reflect on time lost or mistakes made, we gain clarity and wisdom, which, over time, help us make better decisions. The key takeaway from this chapter is simple. Time is a teacher that gives us what we need, if we're patient enough to listen. The longer we wait, the clearer things become. What we often see as failure or disappointment can, in time, become a foundation of something much greater. Housel encourages us to embrace time, not as a passive experience, but as a partner. The more we can learn from time, the more we can make it work for us, rather than against us. Chapter 6. Change is inevitable, but it's how you respond that matters. Change is one of the few constants we can rely on in life. As much as we might try to resist it, alter its course, or anticipate every shift, it's impossible to halt its inevitable march. In Chapter 6 of Same as Ever, Morgan Housel delves into the truth that change is something we must accept and learn to navigate rather than fear. The challenge isn't in trying to stop change, but in adapting and responding to it in ways that help us thrive. The world is in a constant state of flux. Markets rise and fall, people come and go, and circumstances constantly shift. The history of humanity is marked by transformations, wars, technological advancements, societal changes, each leaving its mark on the people who live through them. Change is rarely a smooth, predictable process. It's often jarring and unpredictable. And yet, the ability to adapt and respond to change is what ultimately determines success or failure. Housel points out that the real problem isn't the change itself, but our reaction to it. Some people embrace change and thrive, while others resist it and get stuck in the past. The most successful individuals and businesses are those who not only anticipate change, but actively prepare for it. They understand that change doesn't have to be destructive. In fact, change is often the catalyst for growth. Take the example of the technology boom. In the 1990s, when the internet was first becoming mainstream, many traditional businesses saw it as a fleeting trend, something that would eventually pass. But the businesses that were able to adapt to this new landscape, embracing technology and the internet rather than resisting it, flourished. The companies that were willing to evolve with the times were able to capture new markets, develop innovative products, and connect with customers in ways that were previously unimaginable. On the other hand, those who resisted the change, stuck to their old methods, and ignored the potential of the internet, quickly found themselves outpaced and irrelevant. The lesson? The key to survival and eventual success lies not in resisting change, but in responding to it in a timely and intelligent way. Housel emphasizes that many of the greatest opportunities come from periods of upheaval or major shifts. It's during times of crisis or uncertainty that innovative ideas and new industries emerge. While change can feel uncomfortable, it often presents opportunities for those who are willing to pivot and take action. It's the people who are willing to ask, "What's next?" instead of clinging to what was, who are best equipped to navigate the tides of change. A prime example of this is seen in the rise of remote work. For many years, companies were reluctant to embrace remote working arrangements, often citing concerns about productivity, communication, and collaboration. But when the pandemic hit, companies were forced to quickly adapt to a new way of working. Those who were able to embrace the change and invest in remote infrastructure not only survived, but thrived. They discovered that the change wasn't as disruptive as they had feared, and that it could actually enhance productivity and work-life balance. The power of adaptation is rooted in a simple but profound truth. Change is always happening. Whether we're aware of it or not, change is woven into the fabric of life. It's often not the events themselves that are significant, but how we choose to respond to them. If we resist change, we may find ourselves falling behind, unable to keep up with the ever-evolving world around us. But if we learn to adapt and embrace the inevitable shifts, we can harness the power of change to fuel our personal and professional growth. Housel argues that our relationship with change is often defined by our mindset. Those with a growth mindset, the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed over time, are better equipped to handle the inevitable changes they face. They see challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, rather than obstacles to be avoided. This mindset shift is essential for thriving in an unpredictable world. This chapter also stresses the importance of having a long-term perspective. When we look at change through a short-term lens, it can feel overwhelming and chaotic. However, by stepping back and considering the bigger picture, we can often see how change fits into a larger narrative of growth and progress. Change, when viewed from this perspective, doesn't feel like an overwhelming force. It feels like a natural and necessary part of the journey towards something better. One of the most powerful aspects of responding to change is developing the resilience to bounce back from setbacks. Life doesn't always go according to plan, and often, change brings with it challenges and difficulties. But the ability to recover, adapt, and move forward is what defines those who succeed in times of transition. It's not about avoiding change, but rather about how we respond when things don't go our way. Housel's message in this chapter is clear. Change will always be a part of life. It's not something we can control, but it's something we can learn to navigate. By embracing change, adapting to new circumstances, and approaching challenges with a mindset of growth, we position ourselves to thrive, no matter what comes our way. Chapter 7. The Power of Patience and Persistence. One of the most powerful yet underrated forces in life is patience. In Chapter 7 of Same as Ever, Morgan Housel focuses on the art of being patient and persistent. This chapter examines why patience is essential for long-term success, how it plays into our ability to ride out the ups and downs of life, and why, in a world full of instant gratification, patience is often the key to winning the long game. Patience is frequently misunderstood. We live in a culture that celebrates quick results. Instant access, immediate rewards, and the constant pursuit of faster outcomes often dominate our thinking. But the truth is that while quick results might feel satisfying in the moment, they don't always lead to lasting success. Instead, the secret to long-term achievement is often about having the patience to work steadily toward your goals and the persistence to keep going when things don't happen as quickly as you expect. The essence of this chapter is rooted in the idea that great things take time. Whether it's building wealth, cultivating a meaningful career, or developing deep, lasting relationships, few things worth having come without significant effort over time. The best things in life are often the result of slow and steady progress, rather than rushing from one goal to the next in search of quick wins. Housel draws on the idea of compounding, a principle that can be applied to everything from wealth to knowledge. Compounding works over time, and while it may seem like progress is slow, the results can be staggering in the long run. Just like the snowball effect, small and consistent actions build upon themselves, leading to massive outcomes down the road. This idea is particularly potent in the world of investing, where the patience to let your investments grow year after year is often the difference between mediocre returns and extraordinary wealth. But patience doesn't mean sitting idly by and waiting for results to appear. It's about putting in the work, even when you don't see immediate rewards. It's about trusting that your efforts will pay off in the long run, even if it doesn't happen in the time frame you expected. Persistence is the other half of the equation. You must keep going, even when it feels like you're not making progress. This chapter is a reminder that every overnight success is the result of years of hard work behind the scenes. Housel provides examples of well-known figures who achieved greatness through sheer persistence. Think of the founders of companies like Apple, Amazon, or Tesla. While it may seem like they achieved success quickly in reality, their journeys were filled with setbacks, failures, and moments of doubt. They kept going because they had the patience to play the long game and the persistence to stay the course. One of the most important insights from Chapter 7 is that success isn't about avoiding failure. It's about being willing to keep going despite failure. Failure is inevitable. Everyone encounters setbacks, and those who succeed aren't the ones who avoid failure, but the ones who refuse to quit when things get tough. Failure, in Housel's eyes, is not an end, but simply a stepping stone on the path to eventual success. Furthermore, Housel emphasizes that persistence doesn't mean stubbornly following the same path when it's clearly not working. It's important to be patient, but also wise enough to know when to pivot or adjust course. The true strength of persistence lies in knowing when to keep going and when to make necessary changes without abandoning your long-term vision. Patience is also crucial in relationships. Whether it's with family, friends, or colleagues, building strong, meaningful connections takes time. It's about showing up consistently, being reliable, and investing in others over the long term. While it may seem like we live in an age of disposable relationships, where people move in and out of our lives quickly, those who take the time to nurture their connections are the ones who enjoy the deepest, most fulfilling bonds. For Housel, one of the most significant ways patience plays out is in the accumulation of wealth. He points out that while it may seem like wealth is built overnight for some, for the vast majority of successful people, it's the result of years, if not decades, of steady, consistent work. The key is having the discipline to invest and save over time, making wise choices and resisting the temptation for immediate rewards. Wealth, like any long-term goal, is achieved by staying focused, making adjustments when necessary, and avoiding shortcuts. The power of patience is intertwined with the idea of control. Housel suggests that the more you can control your own actions, the more patience you can have, and the more likely you are to achieve your goals. Many people get frustrated because they focus too much on things outside their control, things like the market, other people's actions, or unforeseen circumstances. But those who are most successful focus their energy on the things they can control, their habits, their mindset, and their approach to challenges. This chapter also highlights the importance of managing your expectations. If you expect rapid success or instant gratification, you're likely to be disappointed when things don't happen as quickly as you'd like. But if you set your sights on long-term goals and embrace the process, you'll find that the rewards come much more naturally. In a world that encourages speed, instant results, and constant hustle, the true power lies in being willing to take a step back, trust the process, and allow things to unfold in their own time. Success doesn't always happen on your timeline, but with patience and persistence, it will eventually arrive. And when it does, it will be the result of your consistent effort, your ability to adapt, and your unwavering commitment to long-term growth. Chapter 8. The Value of Simplicity in a Complex World. Chapter 8 of Same as ever dives deep into the concept of simplicity. How, in a world that often seems to demand complexity, stripping things down to their essence can be a game changer. Morgan Housel argues that simplicity is not only undervalued but often misunderstood. While modern life and business seem to thrive on ever-increasing complexity, it's the simple ideas, actions, and structures that often lead to the most profound and lasting success. The complexity trap is easy to fall into. We're constantly bombarded with new ideas, technologies, systems, and methods, each claiming to be the next big breakthrough. In the quest to stay ahead, we often find ourselves caught in a cycle of complexity, adding layer upon layer to our lives without really considering whether it's making things better. Housel draws attention to the fact that many successful people, organizations, and ideas stand out precisely because they focus on what is most important, nothing more, nothing less. Simplicity is powerful because it forces us to focus on what truly matters. It cuts through the noise and distractions, allowing us to focus on the core elements that lead to success. The true value of simplicity lies not just in its ease, but in its clarity. By simplifying our approach, we make our decisions easier, our actions more deliberate, and our outcomes more predictable. One of the most profound insights in this chapter is the idea that simplicity doesn't mean sacrificing quality. Too often, people equate simplicity with something inferior, a dumbed-down version of something more complex. But in reality, simplicity can be just as powerful, and sometimes even more so, than complex strategies or systems. The genius of simplicity lies in its ability to do more with less. Take, for example, the simplicity of great design. Whether it's in the world of architecture, product development, or user experience, the most impactful designs are often the simplest ones. Think about the iPhone, which revolutionized mobile technology. Its design is minimalist, intuitive, and easy to use, yet it contains a wealth of advanced technology inside. The iPhone didn't succeed because it was complex, but because it made a complicated task, connecting to a global network, feel simple and accessible. In our personal lives, embracing simplicity can have a profound impact as well. Housel encourages us to consider how we can eliminate unnecessary complexity from our day-to-day routines. The constant bombardment of information, tasks, and decisions can be overwhelming, leading to stress and burnout. Simplifying our schedules, reducing distractions, and focusing on the essential can lead to greater happiness, less anxiety, and a clearer sense of purpose. But simplifying doesn't just mean cutting things out. It's also about focusing on what works. This principle applies to our goals as well. By simplifying our focus and honing in on the few things that matter most, we can achieve more in less time. Often, we spread ourselves too thin, trying to accomplish everything at once. But the reality is that when we focus on one thing, we perform better, whether that's in our work, relationships, or personal growth. One area where simplicity can be especially powerful is in decision-making. As Housel points out, people often complicate their choices with too many options, leading to analysis paralysis. By narrowing our focus and making decisions based on clear principles, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of overthinking. Simplicity in decision-making leads to quicker, more confident actions that align with our goals. The chapter also emphasizes the importance of simplifying our communication. In business, clear, concise communication is often the most effective. People tend to overcomplicate messages, thinking that adding more information or complexity will make their point clearer. But the truth is that simplicity in communication leads to better understanding, fewer misunderstandings, and stronger connections. Housel also touches on the simplicity of finance. In the world of investing, there's a temptation to chase after complex strategies and intricate financial products. But the most successful investors often take a simple approach. They invest in index funds, hold long-term, and avoid trying to time the market. This simplicity of focusing on what works and avoiding distractions is what has led to lasting wealth for countless individuals. The chapter encourages us to reconsider our relationship with complexity. We live in a time when complexity is often viewed as a sign of sophistication, intelligence, or innovation. But Housel suggests that this isn't always the case. Just because something is complex doesn't necessarily mean it's better. In fact, simplicity is often the hallmark of deep understanding and true expertise. Simplicity isn't just a tool for efficiency. It's also a path to peace of mind. When we simplify our lives, we reduce the mental clutter that often leads to stress. We stop overloading ourselves with unnecessary tasks and expectations, and instead focus on things that truly matter. This doesn't mean eliminating ambition or complexity altogether. It means recognizing that we don't have to complicate everything to achieve success. Sometimes the simplest path is the most effective one. Ultimately, Chapter 8 encourages us to challenge the idea that more is always better. It invites us to embrace the power of simplicity in all areas of our lives, from the way we make decisions to the way we communicate and invest. The most successful and fulfilled people are often those who have the clarity to focus on the essentials and the discipline to eliminate the noise. Simplicity isn't about ignoring complexity or avoiding challenges. It's about recognizing that, in a world full of distractions, the greatest value often lies in paring things down to their most fundamental, powerful form. Embrace simplicity, and you'll discover a clearer path to success, happiness, and fulfillment. Chapter 9, The Power of Consistency and Patience. Chapter 9 of Same as Ever explores a powerful, yet often overlooked, concept of consistency. In a world where instant gratification is increasingly the norm, patience and steady progress are more valuable than ever. Morgan Housel delves into how consistency, the simple act of showing up and doing the work day after day, can lead to extraordinary results over time. Housel opens this chapter by acknowledging the cultural obsession with quick wins, fast results, and rapid success. Social media, news outlets, and even business trends often glorify rapid progress. We see influencers, entrepreneurs, and professionals who seem to skyrocket to success, but these are often the outliers. For the rest of us, the real magic happens in the day-to-day grind, the slow accumulation of effort over time. Housel's message is simple. Consistency over time wins the race. One of the most striking ideas in this chapter is how true success is often invisible. We celebrate the outcomes, but rarely do we take a moment to appreciate the consistent effort that goes into achieving them. This invisibility of effort leads many to underestimate the importance of persistence. When you're consistently showing up, doing your best work, and staying focused on a long-term vision, you might not see immediate results, but the effects are compounding. Over months, years, and even decades, that consistent effort adds up in ways that are often unimaginable. Take investing, for example. Housel draws upon the example of Warren Buffett, widely regarded as one of the greatest investors of all time. Buffett's success didn't come from making one or two big bets or seizing massive opportunities. Instead, his wealth is a result of decades of consistently making smart, long-term investments. His most famous quote encapsulates this mindset. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. By staying patient, sticking with a consistent strategy, and avoiding the temptation to jump from one trend to another, Buffett built incredible wealth over time. But it's not just in investing where consistency plays a key role. It's in every area of life. Whether it's personal development, building a business, or strengthening relationships, the secret often lies in the small, daily actions we take. Housel emphasizes that consistency is the ultimate competitive advantage. While others may get distracted by the latest trends or flashy opportunities, the consistent person or company keeps moving forward, regardless of what's happening in the world around them. This steady pace is often what makes the difference between those who achieve long-term success and those who burn out. Consistency is often confused with perfectionism. Many people think they have to do everything perfectly to succeed, but this is a dangerous mindset. Perfectionism can paralyze you, making you too afraid to take action or too obsessed with getting things exactly right. In contrast, consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's about doing the work, making progress, and learning from mistakes along the way. The key is to keep moving forward, no matter what, because over time, that momentum will pay off. The chapter also touches on how consistency is often harder than it seems. In a world full of distractions, staying focused on a single task or goal for an extended period can be incredibly challenging. Social media, entertainment, and the demands of daily life all pull our attention in a million different directions. This constant state of distraction makes it easy to forget that success rarely happens overnight. But if you can commit to showing up and doing the work, no matter how small the task may seem, you are already ahead of most people. One of the most inspiring sections of this chapter involves the concept of compound interest, not just in terms of money, but in terms of effort. Consistent effort, no matter how small, compounds over time. Just like money in a savings account, small actions begin to accumulate and grow exponentially. The more consistent you are, the greater the return on your effort. This compounding effect can lead to massive success in the long run, even if you start with small, seemingly insignificant actions. Housel also emphasizes the importance of setting realistic, long-term goals. Too many people make the mistake of expecting fast results, only to get discouraged when they don't see immediate success. The truth is, real achievement is rarely a sprint. It's more of a marathon. To stay motivated, Housel advises that we focus on making progress, not just on achieving specific goals. By prioritizing the journey over the destination, we can stay focused, maintain our consistency, and experience the satisfaction of constant improvement. Consistency also extends to how we deal with setbacks. In any worthwhile pursuit, setbacks are inevitable. Whether it's a business failure, a missed opportunity, or personal hardship, it's easy to become discouraged. But Housel stresses that setbacks are not a reason to quit. They're an opportunity to learn. The key is to stay consistent in your efforts, even when things don't go according to plan. It's during these challenging times that our resilience and patience are tested. Those who stick with it through the tough times are often the ones who come out on top. Another important aspect of consistency is its ability to build trust. Whether you're building a brand, a business, or a relationship, consistency fosters trust. People rely on predictable, dependable actions of others. If you consistently show up, do what you say you'll do, and follow through on your commitments, you build trust over time. This trust is a foundation of long-term success, as it enables deeper connection, loyalty, and respect from others. In conclusion, Chapter 9 offers a powerful reminder that success is not about immediate results or flashy breakthroughs. It's about consistency and patience. By committing to consistent actions, even small ones, we create momentum that will eventually lead to extraordinary outcomes. Whether in business, investing, or life, consistency is a key that unlocks long-term success. If you can remain committed to your goals and trust in the power of gradual progress, you'll find that results will come in ways that far exceed your expectations. Chapter 10, The Power of Patience and the Long Game. Chapter 10 and same as ever delves deep into the power of patience, the often overlooked ingredient in achieving lasting success. In a world that celebrates instant gratification, patience is not just a virtue, it's a competitive advantage. Morgan Housel illustrates how those who embrace the long game often achieve far more than those chasing short-term rewards. The chapter begins by contrasting two types of mindsets, the short-termist and the long-termist. The short-termist is constantly looking for the next quick fix, a shortcut to success, or a fast way to achieve a goal. They often succumb to the pressures of the present moment, seeking instant rewards and instant feedback. While this approach can lead to brief bursts of success, it rarely delivers sustainable results. On the other hand, the long-termist is focused on enduring, gradual progress. They understand that success doesn't happen overnight, and that lasting achievements require patience, persistence, and discipline. Housel makes the point that the long game isn't just about setting big goals and being patient until they're achieved. It's about shaping your mindset to thrive in the slow accumulation of progress. This mindset isn't about hoping for success in the distant future. It's about embracing the process and recognizing that small, consistent actions add up over time. One of the core ideas in this chapter is that long-term thinking is often misunderstood. It's not just about waiting for success to come. It's about continuing to improve, learn, and refine over time. Most people can't see the incremental progress they're making on a day-to-day basis, which leads to frustration. However, long-term thinkers know that the payoff comes after consistent action, even when the results are invisible in the short term. Housel also emphasizes that patience is a vital tool in financial success. Wealth doesn't come from making one lucky bet or seizing an opportunity at the right moment. Instead, it comes from making sound decisions over a long period, avoiding rash moves, and resisting the temptation to jump on every new trend. Those who make the most money over time are the ones who can resist the allure of quick wins and focus on the steady, patient building of wealth. He also explores how patience doesn't just apply to finances. It's relevant to every aspect of life. Whether you're building a career, a family, a business, or a personal brand, you must understand that real success requires patience. The world will try to convince you that things should happen faster, but in reality, few lasting achievements come quickly. Success is often the result of years of incremental effort, learning, and growth. Housel's use of the metaphor of watching paint dry is both relatable and striking. When you're working towards something significant, the process can feel like you're staring at an unfinished project, waiting for the pieces to come together. Progress can feel painfully slow, and at times, you might doubt whether anything is happening at all. But just as paint slowly dries and coats the surface, your efforts are slowly adding up, even if you can't immediately see the results. The key is to have the patience to wait, to trust the process, and to continue pushing forward despite the seemingly slow pace. The chapter also delves into how patience can protect you from some of the most common mistakes people make when chasing success. When you're in a rush to achieve something, you might take shortcuts or make decisions based on fleeting emotions rather than rational thought. Patience helps you avoid these traps by encouraging you to step back, think critically, and make choices that align with your long-term goals. Housel introduces the idea of time arbitrage, the concept of using time to your advantage. The longer you can stick with something, the more likely you are to see results. This is particularly relevant in the world of investing, but it also applies to other areas of life. Those who have the patience to let their ideas, businesses, or careers develop over time often reap much greater rewards than those who abandon them too early. Time, in this sense, becomes a tool that works in your favor. Patience also breeds perspective. When you take a long-term approach to your goals, you're able to make decisions based on a broader understanding of the situation. You don't get caught up in the noise or the temporary setbacks. Instead, you see the bigger picture and are more willing to navigate the obstacles that come your way. The ability to step back and look at things from a wider vantage point allows you to make better decisions, stay focused on what truly matters, and move forward with confidence. But perhaps one of the most interesting insights in this chapter is Housel's discussion of successful boredom. Many people give up on their goals or projects because they get bored. They crave excitement, novelty, and change. But long-term success often involves periods of boredom, where the work feels repetitive and the progress feels invisible. Successful people understand that boredom is a part of the journey, and instead of succumbing to it, they embrace it. They know that success is built on doing the same thing day after day, even when it's not glamorous or exciting. This consistent effort, even through boredom, is what eventually leads to extraordinary results. Housel also shares stories of famous individuals, from investors like Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett to business tycoons and innovators who have achieved their success because of their ability to think long-term and be patient. These individuals didn't chase fleeting opportunities or try to make quick money. Instead, they trusted the process, stuck with their strategies, and allowed time to work its magic. In the final sections of the chapter, Housel offers practical advice for embracing patience in our own lives. First, he suggests rethinking the way we define success. Instead of expecting immediate results, we should focus on enjoying the process itself. Success isn't just about the destination. It's about the journey and the lessons we learn along the way. He also recommends setting realistic expectations, being willing to learn from mistakes, and understanding that it's okay to fail as long as you're still moving forward. In conclusion, Chapter 10 underscores that patience isn't just a virtue. It's a strategic advantage. By thinking long-term, resisting the urge to chase quick wins, and embracing the slow, steady progress that comes with consistency, we can achieve far more than we ever imagined. Patience is a powerful tool, one that allows us to stay focused, make better decisions, and ultimately succeed in ways that instant gratification never could. Chapter 11. Embracing the Power of Consistency. Chapter 11 of Same as Ever takes a deep dive into the power of consistency and why it's the often overlooked key to success. In a world obsessed with quick results and instant rewards, consistency can feel dull and unspectacular. Yet it's one of the most effective strategies for building lasting success. Morgan Housel begins the chapter by highlighting how we, as a society, have become increasingly impatient with the speed of results. Whether it's growing wealth, getting fit, or advancing in our careers, the common belief is that success should come quickly. But Housel argues that true, sustainable success requires doing the right things consistently over time, regardless of whether we see immediate results. The essence of this chapter is that consistency is not glamorous. It's not about big, dramatic gestures, nor is it about making grandiose changes in a short period. Instead, success is built by consistently making small, incremental improvements over a long time. It's about doing the little things right, day in and day out, even when they seem insignificant. That's how true breakthroughs happen. Housel uses the example of compounding to illustrate this point. Compounding is often associated with investing, but it applies to any area of life. The magic of compounding isn't in one big payoff, but in the small, repeated actions that add up over time. Just as a small deposit today grows into something much larger over years or decades, small actions compounded daily, whether in work, relationships, or personal growth, can lead to extraordinary results. The chapter also addresses a critical mistake that many people make when chasing success. They think they need to make drastic changes in their lives. The belief that transformation requires a monumental effort often causes people quit before they've had a chance to truly build momentum. Housel points out that real transformation isn't about revolutionizing your entire life in one go. It's about making gradual, consistent changes that stick over time. Instead of obsessing over big wins, focus on small wins that are sustainable and can be repeated consistently. Housel contrasts two mindsets, the all-or-nothing mindset and the progressive improvement mindset. The all-or-nothing approach is where people try to change everything at once or expect immediate perfection. It's a mindset that tends to set people up for failure because it's unrealistic and often leads to burnout. On the other hand, the progressive improvement mindset focuses on doing the best you can today, improving a little bit each day, and understanding that perfect doesn't exist. It's about making progress, not perfection. In business, consistency has a particularly powerful effect. Many businesses fail not because their product or idea is bad, but because they aren't consistent in their efforts. They launch with great enthusiasm, make big promises, and generate excitement. But then they burn out or become distracted by new opportunities before they fully follow through. Housel stresses that success in business comes from showing up day after day, refining your products, improving your customer service, and continually adding value. It's about staying in the game long enough to make your mark, and then having the grit to keep going when the going gets tough. He provides examples of companies that have succeeded over the long term because they've adhered to the principle of consistency. Apple, for instance, didn't build its empire overnight. It built it through years of innovation, focusing on consistently delivering great products and exceptional user experiences. The company's long-term vision and consistency in executing that vision are what have made it one of the most valuable companies in the world. A key insight Housel offers is that consistency breeds confidence. When you show up every day, even on days when you don't feel like it, you develop a sense of self-trust. You prove to yourself that you can rely on your own actions, and this builds a mental foundation that can withstand challenges. Confidence, Housel argues, isn't just about having a good sense of self. It's about knowing that you're capable of continuing forward, no matter the obstacles. In personal development, consistency isn't about perfection, but about the steady commitment to showing up and trying. Whether it's improving your health, learning new skills, or building better relationships, progress is made when we stick to the process, even when results are slow or unseen. Those who persist with consistency are often the ones who eventually reach their goals, simply because they outlast everyone else who gave up too soon. Housel also speaks to the importance of building habits that support consistency. Habits are the foundation of long-term success. They help you do the right things automatically, without having to exert a lot of mental energy or willpower. By creating positive, small habits that contribute to your overall goal, you set yourself up for long-term achievement. But these habits aren't developed overnight. They take time, effort, and repetition. The more consistently you show up, the more these habits solidify and eventually propel you toward your desired outcome. But consistency also involves avoiding the temptation to constantly seek novelty. It's easy to be distracted by new methods, trends, and ideas, always hoping for a new approach that will make things easier or faster. However, Housel explains that constant chasing of novelty can be a detractor from long-term success. It's not the shiny new idea or approach that will get you there. It's the work, the repetition, and the commitment to what works. This is why many successful people focus on mastering the basics, consistently applying what they know, and avoiding the trap of constantly seeking something different. Housel wraps up the chapter with a powerful reminder. Consistency is not flashy, but it is powerful. Success is often the result of simply showing up and doing the work, over and over again. By focusing on consistent, incremental progress, you'll eventually reach levels of achievement that others may not even dream of. In summary, Chapter 11 emphasizes that success is rarely about grand, dramatic actions. It's about consistency, the repeated effort that, when compounded over time, leads to extraordinary results. If you're looking to achieve something significant in life, the best approach is often the simplest. Commit to showing up every day and doing your best. Over time, this commitment will add up in ways you can't predict or see right now. But the results will be worth it. Chapter 12. The value of patience in achieving success. In Chapter 12, the same as ever, Morgan Housel explores the often overlooked yet essential component of long-term success: patience. The modern world is built around speed. Speed of information, speed of results, speed of delivery. But Housel stresses that real, lasting success is not something that can be rushed. True wealth, growth, and accomplishment require an enduring patience that most people don't have the tolerance for in our current culture of immediacy. Housel begins by acknowledging the pressure of a world that constantly encourages us to move quickly. We live in a society that celebrates instant gratification, where we can order food in minutes, send messages across the globe in an instant, and receive almost anything we need with the click of a button. This sense of immediacy can make us believe that success should come as quickly as everything else in our lives does. But, as Housel explains, the reality of long-term success is quite different. The chapter opens with the idea that good things come to those who wait. And while this may sound like an outdated cliche, Housel argues it is still fundamentally true. He reminds us that wealth, health, personal growth, and even happiness are all built over time. They are not results of quick decisions or sudden actions, but are the fruits of slow and steady progress. Housel uses a concept of compound interest to explain why patience is such a vital ingredient in success. Compounding, whether it's in the form of money, knowledge, or relationships, works only when you give it time. It's not about the single investment or action that will change your life overnight, but rather the continuous effort you put in over years, which compounds into something far greater than the sum of its parts. Consider the story of an investor who invests regularly in the stock market. Over time, their returns grow not just from the original investment, but from the interest and returns that keep compounding year after year. The longer the investment is left untouched, the more powerful the compounding effect becomes. The same can be applied to almost every other area of life. If you plant a tree today, you're unlikely to see its full height or fruit tomorrow. But over time, with patience, the tree grows strong and tall. This principle applies across all domains of success. One of the key points Housel makes in this chapter is that impatience is often the greatest obstacle to success. People expect too much, too quickly, and this leads them to give up when they don't see immediate results. It's easy to feel discouraged when the progress is slow and the rewards are not obvious. But true achievement, Housel insists, is the result of sticking with it, even when progress feels imperceptible. The consistent application of effort, day after day and year after year, is what will eventually pay off. The chapter also emphasizes that patience isn't just about waiting idly. It's about staying the course and continuing to put in the work while knowing that the results won't come overnight. Patience, according to Housel, involves having the foresight to understand that the work you're doing today might not pay off for years, but that doesn't make it any less valuable. In fact, the work done in the early stages can be the foundation for everything that comes after. Without patience, there's no room for these early steps to bear fruit. Housel contrasts patience with a sense of urgency that so many people feel. This urgency often leads to impulsive decisions, whether that's in investments, relationships, or personal goals. People try to rush through the early stages in order to reach the end as quickly as possible, and often miss the vital lessons and steps that come with slow, steady progress. Housel advises against rushing, instead urging his readers to focus on a long-term vision and avoid getting caught up in a race to arrive at success. Patience allows space for growth, learning, and the eventual rewards that come with effort. To help drive home the idea of patience, Housel uses examples of successful individuals who have achieved greatness because they took the long view. Warren Buffett is one of the best-known figures in this regard. His success wasn't built on a series of high-stakes, high-speed moves, but rather through carefully calculated investments over time, compounded over the decades. Buffett's approach to wealth is centered around the idea that long-term patience will often yield better results than trying to make a quick, flashy return. It's about understanding that success takes time and allowing it to come to fruition. The chapter also discusses the importance of recognizing that some things, by their nature, cannot be rushed. Housel cites relationships as an example. Whether it's romantic, familial, or professional, relationships take time to nurture and grow. You can't rush the building of trust or understanding, nor can you force deeper connections. Just like any other area of success, relationships require patience to mature into something meaningful and long-lasting. Housel also addresses the struggle people face when they're not seeing immediate results. It's natural to feel like giving up when things aren't moving as quickly as you'd hoped. But Housel argues it's in those moments of doubt where true growth happens. The people who stick with it during the difficult times, when the path is unclear, are the ones who ultimately see the rewards. They learn that persistence, not immediate payoff, is the key to achieving something valuable. In closing, Housel encourages readers to reframe their thinking about success. Rather than expecting immediate results, we should expect things to take time and be patient with the process. Success isn't about one big break or sudden transformation. It's about consistently doing the right things, day after day, over a long period of time. And when you're patient, the reward will come in ways that you could never have predicted or planned for. In summary, Chapter 12 reminds us that patience is a cornerstone of success. It may not feel like the most exciting path, but it is, in fact, the most powerful. By embracing the long-term view and staying the course, you'll eventually see the rewards of your efforts. In a world that constantly urges us to move faster and expect quicker results, patience offers a counterbalance necessary for real, enduring success. Chapter 13, Embracing Uncertainty and Change. In Chapter 13 of Same as Ever, Morgan Housel dives deep into the ever-present challenge of uncertainty and how we can not only survive but thrive in the face of it. One of the main pillars of long-term success, Housel argues, is the ability to embrace the unknown. He suggests that the key to achieving true freedom and success lies not in avoiding uncertainty, but in learning how to dance with it. Housel begins by acknowledging the undeniable truth. Uncertainty is a part of life. Whether it's the volatility of financial markets, personal health, relationships, or even the state of the world, there are always factors beyond our control. In fact, the more we try to eliminate uncertainty, the more frustrated we become. The more we cling to the illusion of control, the more anxious we feel when things go off course. But Housel challenges readers to rethink how they approach uncertainty by not seeing it as a threat, but as an opportunity. The chapter opens with a compelling observation. Uncertainty is where progress happens. This is a striking statement, especially in a world that often demands predictability. From a young age, we're taught to avoid risk and seek safety. But Housel proposes that real growth, innovation, and success often come when we lean into uncertainty rather than trying to escape it. Whether it's an entrepreneur starting a new business, an investor deciding on an uncertain market, or a person navigating their own life journey, The ability to tolerate and even embrace uncertainty is what separates those who thrive from those who simply survive. Housel goes on to highlight how humans have a natural instinct to resist uncertainty. Our brains are wired to seek comfort, predictability, and control. In a sense, uncertainty is the antithesis of what we are programmed to desire. This is why it can feel so unnerving when we face situations that are outside of our control. However, Housel emphasizes that while uncertainty can be uncomfortable, it doesn't have to be something to fear. It can, in fact, be a driving force for growth, self-improvement, and ultimate success. One of the key points Housel makes in this chapter is that in today's rapidly changing world, certainty is an illusion. The days of guaranteed job security, predictable career paths, and stable financial markets are over. Change is constant, and with it comes the unknown. But instead of seeing this as a threat, Housel suggests we reframe how we view change. Those who are adaptable, flexible, and willing to evolve with the times are the ones who will find success in uncertain environments. To help drive this point home, Housel uses historical examples of how individuals and organizations have faced uncertainty and thrived. He shares the story of Steve Jobs and how Apple not only survived but flourished in times of uncertainty. Jobs didn't avoid risks. He leaned into them. He constantly embraced uncertainty, whether through the launch of the iPhone or navigating the tough economic climate of the early 2000s. By accepting the volatility of the world around him and making bold decisions in the face of it, Jobs and Apple were able to change the course of history. Housel also discusses the importance of mental flexibility when it comes to navigating uncertainty. It's not enough to simply hope for the best. We need to be ready for things to go wrong and be able to pivot when necessary. This requires both foresight and the ability to adjust our expectations as situations evolve. In a way, embracing uncertainty is a skill, one that can be developed and strengthened over time. The chapter then shifts toward the idea that true resilience comes not from avoiding uncertainty, but from learning to adapt to it. Resilience, Housel notes, is about being able to bounce back when things don't go according to plan. It's about seeing setbacks not as failures, but as opportunities to learn and grow. Those who possess this resilience are the ones who can weather the storms of uncertainty and come out stronger on the other side. Housel emphasizes that people who have experienced uncertainty and failure in the past are often the ones who are best equipped to handle future challenges. They understand that setbacks are inevitable, but they also know that they don't define us. Instead of letting adversity paralyze them, they use it as fuel to improve and adapt. The concept of reframing plays a significant role in this chapter. Housel argues that we need to reframe how we look at uncertainty. Instead of seeing it as something to avoid, we should see it as an opportunity to learn, evolve, and innovate. He stresses that innovation doesn't come from knowing all the answers. It comes from trying new things, experimenting, and being open to change. The businesses and individuals who succeed in uncertain environments are the ones who are willing to step outside their comfort zones and challenge the status quo. One of the most profound ideas Housel presents in this chapter is the concept of embracing the mess. We often try to simplify things and make them more manageable, but life, business, and growth are inherently messy. The sooner we accept that uncertainty and chaos are a natural part of the process, the sooner we can start finding solutions, improving ourselves, and moving forward. In fact, it is often in the mess that we discover our most valuable lessons. By the end of the chapter, Housel encourages readers to reflect on their own relationship with uncertainty. How do you approach it? Do you resist it, or do you lean into it? Housel challenges us to see uncertainty as a gift, an invitation to grow, innovate, and create. While we can't predict the future, we can control how we respond to the unknown. Our ability to adapt, pivot, and remain resilient in the face of uncertainty is what ultimately determines our success. Housel concludes by reminding us that uncertainty is inevitable, but so is change. The only thing we have control over is how we respond to it. Instead of fearing the unknown, we can choose to embrace it. By accepting uncertainty as a natural part of life and using it as a springboard for growth, we can unlock new opportunities, create lasting success, and ultimately lead a richer, more fulfilled life. This chapter leaves readers with a powerful message. The only way to move forward in an uncertain world is by learning to be comfortable with the discomfort that comes with it. The future may be unpredictable, but with the right mindset and approach, we can navigate it with confidence and resilience. Chapter 14, The Power of Patience in an Impatient World. In Chapter 14 of Same as Ever, Morgan Housel tackles a topic that is often overlooked in today's fast-paced, instant gratification world: patience. Housel makes a compelling case for why patience is one of the most powerful tools for achieving long-term success, and why, in a world obsessed with immediate results, it has become a rare and invaluable quality. The chapter opens with a simple yet profound observation: patience is hard. In an era where everything from food delivery to social media updates happens within seconds, patience feels like a lost art. Housel points out that our society has conditioned us to expect quick results, and anything that takes longer than expected can feel like a waste of time. However, this mindset, Housel argues, can often lead us down a path of frustration, poor decision-making, and missed opportunities. The core idea Housel presents is that patience, especially when paired with consistency, is a major factor in achieving extraordinary results. He compares success in life and business to compound interest. The results of patience are not seen immediately, but over time, they multiply in ways that are often unexpected and profound. Just as small investments can grow exponentially in the financial world, so too can small, consistent efforts in our personal and professional lives. One of the key aspects of patience that Housel emphasizes is the ability to delay gratification. He delves into how people often choose immediate rewards over long-term gains, driven by the desire for quick satisfaction. This behavior is particularly prevalent in consumer culture, where buying now and paying later is encouraged, and instant success stories dominate social media. Housel challenges this mindset, encouraging readers to consider the bigger picture and the long-term benefits that patience can bring. Housel also discusses the importance of cultivating long-term thinking. He notes that patience isn't just about waiting. It's about having a vision for the future and trusting that small, steady actions today will lead to great results down the road. This long-term view allows individuals to stay focused even when the results aren't immediately visible. He uses the example of Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in the world, who built his fortune by investing in companies for the long haul rather than seeking quick returns. Buffett's success was a direct result of his patience and his ability to let his investments grow over decades, rather than jumping at every short-term opportunity. The chapter also highlights how impatience can lead to costly mistakes. Housel recounts stories of businesses and individuals who rush their decisions or try to take shortcuts in pursuit of quick success, only to end up with disappointing or catastrophic results. In many cases, the drive for instant gratification led them to overlook fundamental principles of sound decision-making, such as due diligence, careful planning, and strategic patience. This section serves as a warning to those who may be tempted to cut corners or make hasty decisions in the hope of achieving immediate rewards. Housel doesn't just present the idea of patience as a passive quality. Instead, he discusses how it requires an active choice and discipline. Patience, he argues, isn't about sitting back and waiting for success to come to you. It's about making deliberate, consistent choices that align with your long-term goals, even when immediate results are hard to see. In this way, patience is an active practice of resilience and persistence, where you stay focused on your objectives and trust that your efforts will pay off over time. A significant part of this chapter is dedicated to explaining the value of patience in building wealth. Housel explains that wealth is rarely built overnight, and the journey toward financial security or independence requires an unwavering commitment to long-term goals. He cautions against the temptation of get-rich-quick schemes, which promise immediate rewards but often fail to deliver sustainable success. Instead, he advocates for the slow and steady accumulation of wealth, achieved through disciplined saving, investing, and the accumulation of skills over time. The chapter also touches on how the power of patience can be applied to personal development. Just like building wealth, self-improvement doesn't happen instantly. The process of acquiring knowledge, improving habits, and developing emotional resilience takes time. Housel encourages readers to embrace the idea of gradual improvement and to understand that the small, daily efforts they make today will compound over time, leading to significant personal growth and success. Housel acknowledges that patience isn't always easy, especially in a world where we are constantly bombarded by messages of instant success and quick fixes. Social media, in particular, often highlights the lives of people who seem to have achieved everything effortlessly and quickly. This can create feelings of inadequacy and frustration for those who are taking a slower, more deliberate approach. But Housel reminds readers that these instant success stories are often far from the reality of long-term achievement. Behind every success story, there are years of hard work, setbacks, and, above all, patience. The chapter concludes with a powerful reminder. The best things in life, the things that truly matter, take time. Whether it's building wealth, cultivating meaningful relationships, mastering a skill, or creating something of value, patience is a key to achieving it all. Housel challenges readers to stop measuring success by short-term benchmarks and instead focus on a long-term journey, trusting that with patience and perseverance, the results will come. Housel wraps up the chapter by encouraging readers to embrace patience as a mindset that can radically transform how they approach their goals. By shifting the focus away from a need for immediate gratification and instead prioritizing long-term success, individuals can unlock a level of achievement and fulfillment that is truly remarkable. Patience, Housel asserts, isn't just a virtue. It's a superpower in today's world. Chapter 15, The Illusion of Control. In Chapter 15 of Same as Ever, Morgan Housel explores the concept of control and how our perception of it can often lead to poor decision-making and unnecessary stress. The chapter challenges a commonly held belief that we can, or should, control every aspect of our lives. Instead, Housel emphasizes the importance of accepting uncertainty and understanding that much of life is out of our hands. Housel begins by addressing the widespread desire for control, which is deeply ingrained in human nature. From an early age, we are taught that success is a result of hard work and control. By being proactive, strategic, and intentional, we can shape our own destinies. While there is truth to this, Housel argues that it's crucial to recognize that there are countless factors beyond our control. Whether it's the economy, the actions of others, or unforeseen circumstances, life is full of unpredictability, and our attempts to control every outcome often lead to frustration and burnout. The idea of control is particularly evident in our relationship with money and wealth. Many people, Housel points out, believe that by working harder, saving more, and making smarter investments, they can guarantee financial security. While these actions certainly improve one's chances, they don't eliminate the inherent risks and uncertainties in life. For example, no matter how well we plan or how meticulously we save, we can't control things like market crashes, job losses, or health crises. Housel highlights that acknowledging these risks and embracing the uncertainty that comes with them is far more productive than obsessing over trying to control every variable. Housel also explores the ways in which the illusion of control manifests in our everyday decisions. One of the most significant examples he gives is the obsession with managing time. In the modern world, time management is often seen as a key to success. Every moment of the day should be planned and productive. While this approach can lead to efficiency, it can also breed a sense of anxiety and a constant feeling of inadequacy. Housel argues that this relentless pursuit of time management can prevent us from enjoying the present moment and from appreciating the natural ebb and flow of life. By trying to control every minute, we may miss out on the beauty of spontaneity and the value of flexibility. The chapter also examines how the desire for control affects relationships. In relationships, whether with family, friends, or romantic partners, we often try to control outcomes by influencing others' behavior or choices. However, this need for control can be toxic. Housel explains that relationships thrive when we let go of the need to shape others' actions and instead focus on mutual respect, understanding, and shared growth. Trying to control a partner's actions or a family member's decisions can lead to frustration, resentment, and distance. Accepting that we cannot control the actions of others, but can only control our reactions to them is a liberating mindset that leads to healthier, more authentic relationships. One of the most poignant aspects of the chapter is Housel's discussion of how the illusion of control manifests in the way people approach their personal success and happiness. In the pursuit of success, many people become obsessed with creating a perfect formula or strategy, believing that with enough effort, they can control their outcomes. But Housel emphasizes that this belief is often unrealistic. True success and happiness come not from trying to control every outcome, but from embracing the unknown, accepting setbacks, and finding peace with things that are beyond our control. Housel doesn't suggest that we should abandon all efforts to influence our lives. Rather, he encourages readers to focus on things that they can control, such as their attitude, mindset, and reactions, while accepting that there will always be elements of life that are unpredictable and uncontrollable. The key to happiness and fulfillment, Housel argues, lies in understanding this balance. Housel also addresses the role of external forces, such as societal expectations, in shaping our desire for control. Many people are driven by the pressure to meet external standards of success, whether it's achieving a certain income, owning a home, or reaching a particular career milestone. This external pressure often feeds into the illusion that we must control every aspect of our lives in order to meet these expectations. However, Housel argues that living according to the expectations of others can lead to dissatisfaction. True contentment, he asserts, comes from defining success on your own terms and letting go of the need to conform to external pressures. A major theme of this chapter is the importance of resilience in the face of uncertainty. Housel underscores that the key to navigating life's unpredictability is not trying to control everything, but developing the ability to adapt and bounce back from adversity. He explains that resilience comes from an internal sense of control, being able to manage our emotions, actions, and decisions, even when external factors are beyond our influence. It's the ability to pivot when things don't go as planned, and to maintain a sense of agency even in difficult circumstances. One final takeaway from the chapter is Housel's reminder that the pursuit of control often leads to unnecessary stress. By letting go of the illusion of control, we free ourselves from the burden of perfectionism and allow ourselves to experience life more fully. When we stop trying to control every outcome, we open ourselves up to the possibility of unexpected joy, growth, and success. Housel closes the chapter by encouraging readers to embrace uncertainty as a natural part of life. Instead of seeing unpredictability as something to fear, we should view it as an opportunity for growth and discovery. By accepting that not everything is within our control, we can approach life with more peace, confidence, and flexibility. In this chapter, Housel provides a powerful framework for thinking about control and encourages readers to relinquish the illusion of complete mastery over their lives. By embracing uncertainty and focusing on what truly matters, we can create a life that feels both fulfilling and manageable. Chapter 16, The Power of Reflection. In Chapter 16 of Same as Ever, Morgan Housel dives into the transformative power of reflection. He explores how the act of reflecting on our past experiences, both good and bad, can help us gain clarity, wisdom, and insight into the present. Reflection allows us to make sense of our lives, learn from our mistakes, and create better futures. Housel begins by explaining the importance of reflection in our personal and professional lives. Often, we are so caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily tasks and responsibilities that we fail to take a step back and think about where we've been, where we're headed, and what lessons we've learned along the way. He points out that without reflection, we risk repeating the same mistakes, missing out on growth opportunities, and failing to capitalize on the wisdom we've accumulated. The first step in the process of reflection, Housel explains, is creating space and time for it. In a world that's always moving at a fast pace, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we don't have time to reflect. However, reflection isn't something that should be reserved for quiet retreats or planned moments of introspection. It can happen in the middle of a busy day, during a walk, or even in the moments before bed. It doesn't require hours of free time, but rather the intention to slow down and be present with your thoughts. Housel encourages readers to look at reflection as a tool for self-awareness, a way of connecting the dots between our past actions and their outcomes. For example, reflecting on a recent decision or failure can reveal patterns in our behavior or thinking that we may not have noticed before. By doing this, we can gain a deeper understanding of our motivations, biases, and the forces that shape our decisions. In turn, this awareness helps us make better choices in the future. One of the core themes of the chapter is the role of reflection in building emotional intelligence. Housel argues that reflecting on our emotional responses to various situations is crucial for emotional growth. By examining how we felt during key moments, whether the stressful encounter, a moment of success, or a failure, we can better understand our emotional triggers and develop healthier ways of managing our feelings. Reflection allows us to process emotions in a productive way rather than letting them control us or fester unchecked. Another key aspect of reflection is learning from failure. Housel emphasizes that failure is an inevitable part of life, and rather than avoiding or denying it, we should embrace it as a valuable learning experience. Reflecting on our failures allows us to identify what went wrong and what we could have done differently. But more importantly, it helps us build resilience, as it provides an opportunity to bounce back stronger and more informed. Reflection transforms failure from something negative into a stepping stone for personal growth. Housel also touches on the importance of reflection in relationships. In the fast-paced nature of modern life, it's easy to go through the motions in our relationships without pausing to think about their quality or dynamics. Reflection, however, allows us to step outside of ourselves and consider how we show up in our relationships with others. Are we truly listening? Are we being empathetic? Are we fostering trust and understanding? By reflecting on these questions, we can improve our connections with others and create more meaningful and authentic relationships. The chapter also addresses a concept of long-term thinking and how reflection can help us shift our mindset from immediate gratification to a more future-focused approach. Often, we make decisions based on short-term desires without considering the long-term consequences. Reflection enables us to zoom out and evaluate how our choices align with our long-term goals and values. Housel suggests that by reflecting on the bigger picture, we can make more thoughtful and intentional decisions that will serve us well in the future. One particularly powerful part of this chapter is Housel's exploration of how reflection can enhance our ability to find purpose and meaning in life. We all experience moments when we question our path or feel disconnected from our deeper purpose. Reflection allows us to revisit those moments of uncertainty and examine them with a clearer perspective. It helps us reconnect with what truly matters to us and find a meaning in our everyday actions. By taking the time to reflect on our values and how they align with our lives, we can cultivate a stronger sense of purpose and fulfillment. Housel also points out that reflection is a key component of personal development. It's easy to get caught up in pursuit of success, chasing new achievements, climbing the career ladder, or accumulating wealth. However, if we don't take the time to reflect on our progress, we may miss out on the deeper personal growth that comes from understanding ourselves. Reflection allows us to pause, appreciate how far we've come, and consider where we still want to go. It helps us stay grounded, focused, and connected to our true selves, even as we strive for new goals. A key piece of advice Housel offers in this chapter is to make reflection a habit, not a one-time event. Like any other practice that fosters growth, reflection requires consistency. He suggests setting aside time regularly for reflection, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly, so that it becomes a part of your routine. This consistent practice allows reflection to become more natural and effective over time, helping you make more intentional decisions and live with greater self-awareness. Housel concludes a chapter by reinforcing the idea that reflection is not a passive process, but an active one that requires engagement and effort. It's not enough to simply look back on the past. We must ask ourselves meaningful questions, dig deeper into our emotions, and be open to learning. Reflection is a powerful tool for personal growth, but only if we use it with intention and honesty. Ultimately, Housel argues that reflection is one of the most valuable tools we have for navigating the complexities of life. By embracing reflection, we can gain clarity, improve our emotional intelligence, learn from our mistakes, and align our actions with our long-term goals and values. It's a practice that, if done regularly, can lead to greater self-understanding and fulfillment. This chapter invites readers to consider how they can incorporate reflection into their own lives in a more meaningful way. In doing so, we can begin to embrace the wisdom that comes from looking inward and learn how to navigate life with more insight, purpose, and clarity. Chapter 17, The Ever-Present Need for Change. In Chapter 17 of Same as Ever, Morgan Housel focuses on the importance of adaptability and the constant need for change in an ever-evolving world. While the book has already covered timeless principles that remain the same, Housel shifts gears to explore the interplay between stability and change. He makes the case that, while there are fundamental truths that will always hold value, embracing change is just as critical for personal and professional growth. Housel begins the chapter by acknowledging the tension between stability and change. On one hand, we are drawn to constants, things that we can rely on, principles that we can build our lives around, and values that guide us. On the other hand, the world is dynamic and change is inevitable. The tension between these two forces is where much of the challenge lies. How do we stay true to our core values while still adapting to the changes around us? He uses the example of technology as a clear illustration of how rapidly change occurs in our world. Think about the way the internet, social media, and artificial intelligence have reshaped the way we live, work, and communicate. These shifts seem so dramatic that it's hard to imagine a time when they didn't exist. Yet, this is just one area where change is constant. Industries, jobs, and even social structures undergo frequent transformations. Housel argues that in order to thrive, we need to develop the ability to navigate these changes without losing sight of our fundamental principles. A key point in this chapter is Housel's explanation of how adaptability can lead to success. He suggests that while we often admire those who seem to have achieved success by sticking to a rigid path, the truth is that adaptability is often the unseen skill that drives long-term success. The ability to pivot, adjust, and learn new skills allows us to stay relevant and resilient in a world that's constantly changing. He uses the example of successful entrepreneurs who continuously adapt their strategies based on market conditions or new technologies, showing that those who embrace change are often the ones who come out on top. Housel also highlights the importance of being proactive in managing change, rather than simply reacting to shifts as they happen. He encourages readers to anticipate change and plan accordingly. This mindset allows individuals to not just survive change, but to thrive in it. He mentions that the most successful people are those who don't wait for change to disrupt their lives, but actively seek out opportunities to innovate and evolve. Whether it's in their careers, relationships, or personal growth, the proactive mindset is key to turning change into a positive force. But Housel doesn't shy away from the fact that change can be uncomfortable. It's easy to feel overwhelmed or even fearful when faced with the unknown. The unfamiliar often triggers feelings of insecurity or doubt. However, Housel reframes this discomfort as a necessary part of the process. Growth, he suggests, often lies just beyond the point of discomfort. When we challenge ourselves and step into the unknown, we unlock new potential. Change, while unsettling at times, is ultimately the gateway to new opportunities and possibilities. In his exploration of change, Housel reflects on the ways in which individuals and organizations can create a culture that encourages flexibility. He notes that the most successful people and companies are those that embrace a mindset of lifelong learning. Constantly seeking new knowledge, skills, and perspectives allows us to stay ahead of curve and remain adaptable in a fast-changing world. Housel also highlights the importance of maintaining curiosity, as it fuels the desire to understand and adapt to new situations. When we stop being curious and open to new information, we risk becoming stagnant. Housel stresses that the most important thing when it comes to change is not to resist it, but to learn how to leverage it. Rather than holding tightly to the way things have always been, we must cultivate the ability to look at change as an opportunity rather than a threat. When we change our perspective and approach, we open ourselves up to the many benefits that change can bring. In the business world, Housel gives examples of companies that successfully navigated times of major transformation. He explains that organizations that don't adapt to changing consumer preferences or technological advancements often fall behind, while those that do adapt remain competitive and innovative. He encourages entrepreneurs to be proactive in seeking out ways to stay relevant, from improving customer experience to embracing new technology. In this context, change is not just a threat, it's a competitive advantage. The concept of resilience also plays a major role in Housel's argument. Resilience isn't about avoiding change or resisting difficulty. It's about learning to bend without breaking. Life, much like business, is full of challenges and setbacks, and the ability to bounce back from adversity is one of the most valuable skills we can develop. Resilient individuals don't fear change. They see it as an opportunity to learn and grow stronger. By building mental and emotional resilience, we can approach change with a sense of optimism rather than fear. Another key theme of the chapter is the idea of embracing uncertainty. Housel argues that the fear of uncertainty often prevents people from taking risks or making bold decisions. However, He suggests that uncertainty is a natural part of life, and our discomfort with it is often what holds us back from achieving extraordinary results. By reframing uncertainty as a normal part of the process, we can become more comfortable with taking calculated risks and stepping into the unknown. Housel emphasizes that many of the greatest breakthroughs and innovations have come from individuals who were willing to embrace uncertainty and forge new paths. As the chapter progresses, Housel takes a deep dive into the psychology of change. He explains that our brains are wired to resist change because it's associated with a sense of loss and insecurity. However, once we reframe our thinking and begin to see change as a part of life's natural cycle, it becomes much easier to accept. He encourages readers to practice mindfulness and self-awareness, to observe their reactions to change, and to consciously choose to adapt rather than resist. The chapter concludes with Housel reiterating that while there are truths that remain unchanged over time, such as the importance of relationships, integrity, and purpose, our ability to adapt and embrace change is what will determine our success and fulfillment in life. He urges readers to welcome change, to stay curious, and to continuously challenge themselves to grow and evolve. In doing so, we can harness the power of change to create better, more meaningful lives. Change, after all, is one of the only true constants. By learning how to adapt and grow with it, we position ourselves for a future full of possibility and opportunity. Chapter 18, The Paradox of Progress. In Chapter 18 of Same as Ever, Morgan Housel explores the paradox of progress. How the more we advance, the more we find ourselves longing for simpler times. It's a fascinating contradiction. As our lives become more comfortable, more efficient, and more technologically advanced, many of us feel an increasing sense of dissatisfaction or unease. Housel dives into this paradox, suggesting that the very things that make life easier might also be the root of our unhappiness. The chapter begins by examining the rapid pace of technological progress. It's hard to deny that we live in an era of unprecedented advancement. From artificial intelligence to space exploration, we're achieving things that were once only dreamed of. Our smartphones give us instant access to nearly everything. And yet, despite these conveniences, we're often more stressed, more distracted, and less content than ever before. Housel argues that the more progress we make, the more complex our lives become. While technology has made many aspects of life easier, it's also introduced new challenges. Social media, for example, has connected us with the world in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. Yet, it has also introduced a new set of problems, such as the pressure to constantly be on, the rise of comparison culture, and the erosion of personal privacy. In many ways, the progress we've made has come with unintended consequences that we're still grappling with. The paradox, Housel suggests, is that we often romanticize the past, seeing it as a simpler, more peaceful time, even though it was far from perfect. People tend to look back at earlier periods in history through rose-colored glasses, forgetting the hardships, limitations, and difficulties that were present. For example, people may long for the days before the internet, when life felt more authentic, when they could disconnect and focus on the present moment. But what they fail to acknowledge is that the absence of these technologies also meant less convenience, fewer opportunities, and fewer ways to connect with others. Housel points out that while progress has improved living standards and opened up new opportunities, it's also led to a paradox of increased expectations. As we gain access to more resources, we expect more from life. We expect to have all our needs met instantly, whether that's in the form of fast food, immediate gratification through technology, or the constant pursuit of perfection. And yet, these heightened expectations often lead to disappointment. The more progress we make, the harder it becomes to find contentment because we are constantly reaching for the next thing, the next level, the next breakthrough. Another element of the paradox is how progress changes our relationship with time. In earlier times, life moved at a slower pace. People had to be more present, more intentional with their time. Today, we live in an era of time compression, where everything is speeding up. We have a world full of opportunities, but we feel like we have less time to enjoy them. We rush through our days, trying to squeeze in as much as possible, only to realize that we've missed the moments that truly matter. Housel argues that the feeling of having less time is a direct consequence of progress, and it leads to feelings of stress and dissatisfaction. Housel also explores the role of instant gratification in the paradox of progress. The rise of technology has made it so that we can have almost anything we want immediately, whether it's a movie, a meal, or even an answer to a question. While this can be convenient, it has also eroded our ability to delay gratification. In earlier times, people had to work harder and wait longer to achieve their goals, which created a deeper sense of satisfaction when they succeeded. Today, we expect things to happen quickly, and when they don't, we become frustrated. The instant access to everything we desire has led to a loss of patience, and that impatience makes it harder to enjoy the present moment. Housel introduces the idea that part of the solution to this paradox is embracing the simple things. The more we complicate our lives with technology, constant connectivity, and the pursuit of more, the more disconnected we become from things that truly bring fulfillment. He emphasizes the importance of slowing down, being present, and focusing on what matters most: our relationships, our health, and our sense of purpose. The paradox of progress, he suggests, is not that progress itself is inherently bad, but that we've lost sight of what really matters. One of the ways to break free from the paradox of progress is by taking intentional steps to reconnect with the things that ground us. Housel advises readers to focus on the basics: spending quality time with loved ones, nurturing meaningful relationships, and making time for hobbies or activities that bring us joy. In a world that is constantly moving forward, these simple, timeless pleasures offer a much-needed antidote to the chaos of progress. Instead of constantly striving for more, Housel suggests that we should take time to appreciate what we already have and focus on finding contentment in the present moment. The chapter also delves into the concept of enough. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with messages telling us we need more success, more wealth, more recognition, it can be difficult to know when enough is enough. Housel argues that part of the paradox of progress is that the more we achieve, the more we feel the pressure to do even more. However, at some point, we must define our own version of enough and learn to be content with it. By understanding what truly matters to us and setting boundaries around our desires, we can create a sense of balance and peace in a world that constantly pushes us to do more. Housel concludes the chapter by reaffirming the idea that progress is not inherently bad. It's a powerful force that has brought about immense benefits. However, he urges readers to be mindful of the unintended consequences of progress and to actively choose how they want to engage with it. The key is finding a balance, embracing the opportunities that progress offers, while also holding on to the timeless values that bring us happiness and fulfillment. By acknowledging the paradox of progress, we can move forward in a way that enhances our lives, rather than detracting from them. As we continue to advance and embrace new technologies and opportunities, Housel encourages us to stay grounded in what truly matters and to take the time to savor life's simple pleasures. After all, the more we understand about the paradox of progress, the better equipped we are to navigate the future without losing sight of the things that remain timeless. Chapter 19, The Influence of the Unseen. In Chapter 19 of Same as Ever, Morgan Housel explores a fascinating and often overlooked element of human life: the influence of the unseen. Housel delves into how the things we can't see, touch, or immediately understand often have a profound impact on the course of our lives. These invisible forces, from societal norms to subconscious biases, shape our decisions, our relationships, and even our sense of self-worth, all without us realizing it. The chapter begins by addressing the impact of societal norms. Housel explains that much of what we consider normal in our lives is influenced by cultural expectations, forces we often don't actively think about. From the way we dress, the career paths we choose, to the timelines of our lives, societal norms guide us in ways that are so ingrained that we barely question them. But as Housel points out, the very idea of normal is a construct, constantly changing and influenced by those around us. What's considered normal in one culture or generation may be completely foreign to another. One of the most profound realizations Housel brings to light is how much of our behavior is dictated by these unseen societal norms, without us even realizing it. For example, many people find themselves following career paths they aren't passionate about, simply because society has set expectations of what success looks like. The idea of stability, the desire for a good job, or the pressure to achieve a certain level of education These societal pressures often cause individuals to make decisions based on external expectations rather than internal desires. The result is a life driven by the influence of the unseen. Next, Housel transitions to discuss how the unseen also includes biases that shape how we view the world and others. He explores the concept of unconscious bias, those snap judgments and stereotypes that we form about people based on factors like race, gender, or even social class. These biases are not only influenced by societal norms, but are also deeply embedded in the subconscious. They impact everything from hiring decisions to the way we form friendships and relationships. Housel emphasizes that understanding these biases is crucial for navigating the complexities of the modern world. He makes a compelling case of the power of the unconscious mind, highlighting how much of what we do is driven by these automatic, unseen processes. Often, our actions are based not on rational thought, but on deep-seated beliefs and assumptions formed over a lifetime. Housel explains that becoming aware of these biases can be liberating because it allows us to step back and make more intentional, conscious decisions. By understanding the unseen forces that influence our actions, we can work to correct them and make choices that align more closely with our values. Another layer of the unseen Housel examines is the impact of history. He underscores the idea that we are all shaped by the past, even if we don't fully realize it. Our families, our communities, and our broader culture have all been influenced by historical events, decisions, and trends that continue to echo in the present. These echoes often manifest in ways that are subtle but powerful, influencing our beliefs, our priorities, and our worldview. The chapter delves into how the past, though invisible in the day-to-day sense, shapes much of what we do. Take, for example, the legacy of family traditions. These unseen influences can affect everything from our sense of duty to the expectations we place on ourselves. In many cases, we carry with us the hopes, fears, and aspirations of previous generations, even if we're not consciously aware of it. For instance, Housel mentions how families with a history of entrepreneurship may unconsciously foster a sense of ambition in the younger generations, even if they never explicitly say so. These unseen forces shape not just how we see ourselves, but also how we see our potential. Housel then transitions into a discussion on the hidden role of luck in our lives. Many people credit their success to hard work and talent, but the reality, Housel argues, is that luck plays a far greater role than most are willing to admit. The circumstances of our birth, the timing of our opportunities, and even the people we happen to meet, all of these elements, which are completely beyond our control, can dramatically shape the trajectory of our lives. However, most people fail to acknowledge the influence of luck, preferring to attribute their achievements solely to their own actions. He also explores how luck operates invisibly in the lives of others, particularly when we judge their success or failure. We might see someone who is wildly successful and assume that they must have worked harder, been more talented, or simply been lucky. However, what we often fail to see are the unseen factors, such as the network of people they were born into or the cultural influences that helped them thrive. Similarly, when someone fails, it's easy to write them off as lacking in talent or drive without understanding the unseen forces at play in their lives. This theme of luck ties back to the broader concept of the unseen. Housel challenges readers to reconsider the role of luck in shaping success. He argues that acknowledging the unseen aspects of our achievements can help foster a sense of humility. Success is rarely the result of individual effort alone. It's often a combination of factors, many of which we cannot control or even see. Recognizing this helps us develop empathy for others, and it helps us reframe how we view our own successes and setbacks. The final section of the chapter addresses the hidden impact of technology. While technology has transformed the world in unimaginable ways, its impact is often invisible to us until we take a step back and reflect on it. Housel explores how new technologies, from the internet to artificial intelligence, are shaping society in ways that are not immediately obvious. The vast networks of information that we access daily, for instance, are largely invisible, and yet they shape how we make decisions, form opinions, and interact with others. Social media, for example, has changed how we communicate, but its effects on our mental health, our relationships, and our sense of self are still unfolding. In conclusion, Chapter 19 encourages readers to pay more attention to the unseen forces that shape their lives. These invisible elements, Societal norms, unconscious biases, historical legacies, luck, and technology have a profound influence on the decisions we make and the lives we lead. By becoming aware of these hidden forces, we can better understand the motivations behind our actions and the world around us. In doing so, we open ourselves up to a deeper level of self-awareness and a more authentic engagement with life. Housel's key takeaway is that understanding and acknowledging the unseen allows us to live more intentionally. By recognizing the invisible forces that shape our behavior, we can begin to question the assumptions and biases that guide our lives and make more conscious decisions. After all, the more we understand about what we cannot see, the better we can navigate the world with greater clarity and purpose. Chapter 20: Embracing Change While Honoring the Constant. In the final chapter, Same as Ever, Morgan Housel wraps up his exploration of the constants in our lives with a powerful reflection on how to balance embracing change while honoring what remains unchanged. This chapter ties together many of the key themes of the book, offering both a philosophical and practical framework for how we can live more purposefully in an ever-evolving world. The chapter begins by addressing the paradox of change and consistency. Housel explains that we live in a world that is in constant flux, where change seems to be the only thing we can rely on. Technology, politics, culture, and even personal circumstances evolve at a rapid pace. Yet, despite this overwhelming sense of change, there are certain constants, values, truths, and principles that remain the same. Housel argues that the key to living a meaningful life lies in finding a balance between embracing change and holding fast to the things that endure. He introduces a concept of permanent impermanence. On the one hand, we must acknowledge that change is inevitable. The world around us will continue to evolve, and our lives will be shaped by forces we can't control. But at the same time, Housel suggests that there are universal truths and principles that remain constant despite the changes. These constants, love, integrity, the importance of relationships, the pursuit of knowledge, and the desire for purpose, are foundational to human experience. This idea of permanence within impermanence serves as the cornerstone for Housel's argument. He uses the example of financial markets to illustrate this dynamic. Markets are always changing, driven by new technologies, economic shifts, and geopolitical events. Yet, certain principles of investing, such as the importance of long-term thinking, the value of diversification, and the power of compounding, remain unchanged. By focusing on these enduring principles, investors can navigate the volatility of the market while staying grounded in timeless wisdom. Housel goes on to explore how this paradox plays out in the world of personal development. In our fast-paced, results-driven society, it's easy to get swept up in the latest trends and fads. Whether it's the newest productivity hack, diet plan, or self-help philosophy, we are constantly bombarded with messages that promise quick fixes and immediate results. But Housel urges readers to remember that the true path to success and fulfillment is built on a foundation of consistent effort, hard work, and patience. These principles, though not glamorous or trendy, have stood the test of time. The chapter also delves into the role of habits in maintaining consistency in the face of change. Housel emphasizes that small, positive habits can provide a sense of stability amidst the chaos of modern life. These habits, whether they're related to health, finances, or personal growth, are the steady anchors that allow us to weather the storms of change. He encourages readers to identify and cultivate habits that align with their values and long-term goals, even when the world around them is in flux. Housel also reflects on the concept of timeless wisdom and how it applies to our relationships with others. While the world changes in many ways, the importance of human connection remains constant. People are inherently social beings, and our need for meaningful relationships is something that transcends time and culture. Housel points out that, despite all the technological advancements that have reshaped how we communicate, the fundamentals of what makes a relationship strong, trust, empathy, mutual respect, have not changed. The chapter transitions into a discussion of the changing nature of work and career. Housel recognizes that the workplace has undergone significant transformations, particularly with the rise of remote work, automation, and the gig economy. However, the need for meaningful work, a sense of purpose, and personal fulfillment in our careers remains unchanged. The way we work may evolve, but the underlying desire to contribute to something greater than ourselves will always be a driving force. One of the most compelling ideas Housel explores in this chapter is the concept of legacy. As we navigate through a world of constant change, it's easy to lose sight of the long-term impact of our actions. But Housel urges readers to think about the legacy they want to leave behind, whether it's to their family, their work, or their contributions to society. While the world may change, the values we pass on and the way we impact others can leave a lasting imprint on future generations. In the final pages of the book, Housel offers a reflection on the role of uncertainty in our lives. He acknowledges that, despite our best efforts, the future remains uncertain. However, he argues that it is in embracing this uncertainty that we find the freedom to innovate, adapt, and grow. By accepting that change is inevitable and that some things are beyond our control, we can focus on what truly matters: the pursuit of our values, the cultivation of meaningful relationships, and the ongoing effort to live a life of purpose. The chapter concludes with a reminder that, while change is a constant force in our lives, there are also things that endure. It is through embracing both the impermanence of life and the timeless truths that remain unchanged that we can find a sense of peace and fulfillment. Housel leaves readers with an empowering message: to live fully in the present, make decisions based on what truly matters, and embrace the journey of becoming the best version of themselves, without getting caught up in the fleeting trends of the world. Housel's central takeaway is that while we cannot control the tide of change, we can anchor ourselves in the enduring principles that give life meaning. By focusing on what remains the same, even in a world that is constantly evolving, we can live with purpose, clarity, and a sense of fulfillment that transcends the chaos of modern life. And with that, the book closes, offering readers a profound reflection on the constants and changes that shape our lives and how we can navigate them with wisdom and resilience. And that wraps up our summary of Same as Ever by Morgan Housel, a timeless guide to navigating a world of constant change by understanding what never really changes: human nature. The world changes. People don't. And that's exactly why mastering the fundamentals of behavior, emotion, and decision-making gives you an edge that never goes out of style. If this summary opened your eyes or reinforced something you already knew deep down, go ahead and like this video. Comment your biggest takeaway. And subscribe to Detailed Book Summaries for more wisdom that helps you think clearer, act smarter, and live better. Until next time, keep learning what lasts.